I'm Tiffany from LittleHouseEntertainment.com, and I'm here at the Star Wars Old Republic booth, and I'm talking with Corey about the new MMO that's coming out. Hey, Corey.
Hi, Tiffany.
It's really great to be here talking to you about this. I'm very excited about this new MMO. I do love MMOs myself. First I want to know is, when is this taking place in the Star Wars universe? What time period are we talking about?
Sure. So, Star Wars: The Old Republic, it takes place about 3,000 years prior to the rise of Darth Vader. So all the films everyone's familiar with. It's about 3,000 years before that, and about 300 years after the original Knights of the Old Republic, which was an older game that BioWare had made.
Right, absolutely. Those are great games. So very excited to be seeing that you guys are following up with this, and now with it, doing it multiplayer. So 3,000 years, you've got a lot to play with, obviously.
We sort of chose that time period for that reason. It gives us a lot of freedom and sort of the stories we wanted to create and tell, and it made sense that we could have thousands upon thousands of Jedi and Sith running around in that time period.
Right, as long as it all funnels down eventually, 3,000 years, to like A New Hope.
There's a lot of stuff that can happen in 3,000 years.
Absolutely. So I know we're doing, good versus bad, as we always see throughout, the Star Wars universe in general. It's a very traditional, rock solid, theory. Is that what we're going to be doing here? We're picking sides, essentially.
You will choose a side, right? You can be Republic or Imperial, and there's 4 classes on each of those sides. Now, to say good versus bad, that's a little misleading, because there is some area in between there. I mean, I can be a Jedi Knight that goes totally over to the dark side. Okay. So, I don't know at that point if which side I'm really serving. And then on the flip side, you can easily be a bounty hunter agent, Sith warrior, Sith Inquisitor, and make a lot of light side choices. I say easily. It's actually very difficult to make those choices in the game. It's set up in a way to challenge you. If you want to be a light side Inquisitor, you're going to have to try very hard to make that happen. So.
Right, so basically you guys have created a lot more options than we see in the MMOs that are out there right now. Usually you pick a side and you're kind of stuck on that side as is. With you guys, it seems like you're really trying to blend the lines here. Like, you start at one place, you end up a completely different place.
Well, like a lot of BioWare games, we want players to make choices. We want those choices to be difficult. I personally, I agonize over some of the decisions I have to make in the game.
Absolutely.
And we want those decisions to have consequences that are going to impact the way your story evolves.
It's great. It really it makes it really your own gaming experience, which I know you guys kind of played a lot with this in a way, where I've heard at least that you were doing voiceovers for each of the characters. Like, the characters you make, there is vocals for that?
Yeah, it's actually the first ever fully voiced MMO. So that means it's like not only the player characters, so it's like each player class you play, male and female, professional voice actors, some of the biggest names in the business.
Amazing.
But every NPC you encounter in the game, every mission giver that you're going to talk to is a fully voiced character.
That's absolutely amazing. It really brings so much more to the individual user experience.
It's completely immersive at that point.
Absolutely.
It's so easy to get sucked into the story, into your character, that time literally passes without you having any notice.
Right, which can be good and bad. I know a lot of times with the other MMOs, I kind of just feel like a number when I'm playing. Like, I am just, I subscribe and there you go and you have my money. But this really feels like you took the time out to really care about the player themselves. Give them the options, which I know you're saying that BioWare is known for, to do all this extra stuff with the voiceovers, which I cannot wait to, try out and hear. What are we going to be looking at in terms of leveling? How will that affect the player's choice?
Well, to us, it was really important that we allowed players to fulfill their own personal Star Wars fantasies, right? We wanted them to feel like they were the star of their own Star Wars movie. And it's really, the story that pushes the leveling along. It's very rare you're going to find yourself, I know in other games I played, I would stay up for a few hours just to get from 14 to 15.
Right.
And, do what I had to do to get to 14 to 15.
Exactly.
The cool thing about this game is you kind of glance down and levels have increased, but it's not the main drive, right? It's a byproduct of enjoying your storyline.
Right, absolutely, which you see a lot in in the original Knights of the Old Republic. I would just be like, oh, I leveled, I got to put points in there eventually, but I want to keep going with the story. I want to make more choices. I want to know what's happening.
It's not about grinding the next level. It's always about progressing your story, seeing what's going to happen next, making that next big decision. And and to us, that's really the way that this game shines.
Right. I know that you also have ships. Everybody gets a ship, or
everybody gets a personal starship. It's kind of like Oprah. You get a ship. You get a ship. You get a ship.
Absolutely. And I hear also that you get companions of some sort, something on the ship that you can do certain things. Not really sure about that too.
Yeah, you know, similar to other BioWare games, you know, we like to let you kind of round out your crew.
Right.
So, you know, you will unlock several different companions in the game, and you know, there's lots of different things you can do with these guys. You can use them for crew skills, so they can be off, you know, making items for you, or doing a diplomacy mission, which would bring your character light side or dark side points.
That's great.
You know, there's some romance involved with your companion characters, you know, so your ship might be a perfect place for something like that to take place.
Right, absolutely. It's kind of nice though having other characters that you can tell to do things instead of trying to like figure out, all right, tonight I have X amount of time I'm going to play. All right, am I going to work on this right now? I'm going to work on that. Like, oh no, they can just take care of that, and I'm just going to enjoy.
Exactly. Like, we want you to be the hero, you know, focused on the heroic actions.
Absolutely.
And sometimes making a belt isn't the most heroic action that you could be doing at a galaxy on the verge of war. So we really wanted to allow you to be out adventuring, and you know, but still be able to partake in the crew skill system.
Now, how is this whole thing going to factor into the multiplayer aspect of the game?
We've approached it. We have some really innovative things for multiplayer in this. Multiplayer conversations, for example. So when you want to group up and you guys are out in the world and you pick up a quest, you're going to go into a multiplayer dialogue screen. So it's like everybody's going to get their own dialogue options.
Okay.
You're all going to be on the screen taking part in the conversation, and then the player that wins the role essentially is going to get the speaking part.
Oh my gosh.
So, you know, depending on who you're grouped with and what they're, you know, which way they're leaning, you know, they can affect the way the quest is going to go, and it makes for some really interesting social aspects of the game.
That's an amazing thing. I mean, really, you have a responsibility in a way to the people you're grouped with, or to make sure you pick people who maybe have similar goals to you.
Exactly.
Just willy-nilly flying into whatever, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
What kind of classes are we going to be seeing? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. You know, we use the films as sort of our inspiration, and you know, there's very iconic characters in those films, and really all of our classes are representative of some of those iconic characters. So the bounty hunter, you know, is sort of for those who want to live out that Boba Fett fantasy.
Right.
You know, the smuggler is for those who, you know, align more with Han Solo.
Right.
And then, you know, we have our Jedi Consular, who's going to be more of a Force user. I mean, they can definitely do a lot of damage with their lightsaber, but it's more of a thinking man's Jedi. He's going to use the Force a lot, and maybe a little more diplomatic in his approaches to things. Diplomatic, I mean. And then, you know, the Jedi Knight is going to be more just like
in there,
up in their fisticuffs, you know. And then on the Imperial side of things, there's the Sith Inquisitor, who, you know, it's more like the Emperor, so he's going to have Force lightning that he uses. You know, he's going to use deception and deceit a lot. The Sith Warrior, a couple of different routes, and you know, each of these have an advanced class, so that I'll get into that in a minute. But so the Sith Warrior would be, you know, more like a Darth Vader type character, somebody that can just walk into a situation, take a lot of damage, do a lot of damage. You know, I talked about the bounty hunter, and then our Imperial agent, which is, you know, it's like all those, like the Moffs, you see all these Imperial officers, you know, it's like, where do they come from?
What are they doing
here? How did they get to this position? It's like, and this is sort of their story of how they would move up the ranks and you know, help the Empire advance its cause.
That's great. That's really great. That is actually something I have wondered in the past. So, I know you're saying that they have further.
Yeah, each class has an advanced class specialization they can choose from. So, for example, the Sith Warrior, you can go the Marauder route, Juggernaut route, so it's going to allow you to have dual-wielding lightsabers with one of those paths, single lightsabers with the other. There's skills that you can, you know, spec in different ways to really round out that class and allow you to play it for the way you want to.
Instead of having at the end game, like everyone's like, oh, I'm a warrior, so I have this.
Like we didn't want you to be locked into a role on your team with one of the first choices you made in the game. We want to allow you to play, you know, evolve your character the way that it's natural to you, and we give you a lot of options there. You know, and like the Inquisitor, for example, you know, the other route there, you can go the Sorcerer, so that's going to be like the Emperor. He's going to use a lot of Force lightning, and then the Assassin, he's going to have the Pole Saber, so it's almost more like a Darth Maul style character. You can get in and do a lot of damage up front. You know, he'll go into stealth mode. So it's really fun. We give you a lot of options of how you want to play your character.
It sounds amazing. We're going to be seeing, I'm sure, a lot of aliens, different races that we've probably already seen in the movies or whatever. Anything new for us that we haven't seen before, maybe?
We have a lot of species in the game, you know, and nothing we've revealed currently that's brand new to the universe. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's very familiar faces if you're fans of the films. You know, the Cantina Scene, I think, is sort of the inspiration for everything that we do. When you walk into a spaceport or a cantina or an area, you just get to see all these really cool creatures.
It's a great inspiration. Now, all right, for people who maybe aren't into Star Wars or maybe haven't played an MMO, this really seems like maybe this could be a gateway game for them, where we are seeing, you know, you guys have experience with, you know, a first-person or a single-player game, you know, Knights of the Old Republic, and now you're making an MMO. I feel like
absolutely right. I mean, one of the things we've said in the past is this is sort of Knights of the Old Republic 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I mean, it's a massive game. There's a lot of stories there. If you play as a trooper, you're never going to have the same quest as if you play as a bounty hunter.
Okay.
So, I mean, there is, it is definitely a gateway game, like you said.
Yeah.
People can sit down. One of our goals was to be familiar yet innovative. So there's things, if you're familiar with the genre, you're not going to be totally lost. You're not going to start over.
Right.
We also innovated on a lot of those systems and brought our own thing to the table. And if you're brand new to the genre, it's really, if you've played console games or role-playing games like Mass Effect, any of those games, this will be familiar to you as well. I mean, you'll sort of get it pretty easily.
Absolutely, it's amazing. Well, I know I've seen a little bit of it. It really does look amazing. When can we pick this up?
12/20 this year. Yeah, right. December 20th. We are a global release date for North America and Europe.
Very exciting, and I wish you many expansions. After the release date. Thank you so much for talking to us, Corey. Again, I cannot wait for this game. Please go out and get Star Wars: The Old Republic.